The great crystal ships moved slowly through space like dying stars. Their once bright surfaces were now dull and cracked. Inside the largest ship, Commander Resonance of Ancient Songs felt his people's fear through their shared harmonic connection. The Zephyrians were running out of time. "How many of us are left?" he asked his second-in-command, a younger crystal being named Harmony of New Dawn. 8,412, came the sad reply. "We lost another ship yesterday." Their crystal core finally went dark. Resonance remembered when their race numbered in the billions. They had lived on beautiful crystal worlds where their songs could shape reality itself. Their cities were made of living music, their art was pure harmony. Then the silence came. It ate everything. Not just their buildings or their people, but the very idea that they had ever existed at all. "The council station is ahead," reported their navigator. "They have agreed to hear our request." Resonance looked through the ship's viewing crystal at the massive station floating in space. It was bigger than some moons. 7 different alien races had built it together as a symbol of galactic unity. The Nexari with their many tentacles. The Hegemony with their robot bodies. The Vorthan Empire with their proud warrior culture. For other races all powerful, all advanced. All about to judge whether the Zephyrians deserved to live. The council chamber was enormous. Resonance had never felt so small. His crystal body reflected the harsh lights as he stood before 7 towering seats. Each seat held a representative of one of the galaxy's ruling species. "State your request," said the Nexari delegate. Her voice sounded wet and slimy through the translator. Her purple tentacles moved like angry snakes. Resonance took a deep breath and began to sing. It was not words, but pure emotion made into sound. His song told the story of his people. It spoke of beauty and loss, of terror and hope. It painted pictures in the air of crystal cities falling into nothing, of children who would never grow up, of ancient songs that would die forever. When he finished, the chamber was silent. "Interesting performance," said the Hegemony representative. Its robot face showed no emotion. "But we require facts, not feelings. How many ships? What resources do you need? Where do you wish to settle?" "We have 47 ships," Resonance replied, his harmonics translated into flat words. "We need basic life support, food synthesizers, and a world where we can preserve our culture. Any world will do. We are not proud anymore." The Vorthan delegate, a massive creature covered in battle scars, leaned forward. "What can you offer in return? The galaxy does not give charity to the weak." "We have knowledge of crystal technology," Resonance said hopefully. "Our music can heal damaged materials. We can teach." "Your biology is a contamination risk," interrupted the Nexari delegate. "Your crystal fragments could poison our agricultural worlds. Our scientists have studied the data." Resonance felt his hopes cracking like his ship's hull. "But we can contain ourselves. We ask for so little." "Your harmonic communications interfere with our trade frequencies," added another delegate. "Commerce is the foundation of galactic civilization. We cannot risk disruption." One by one each council member found their excuse. The Zephyrians were too different. Too risky. Too expensive. Too inconvenient. "Furthermore," said the Nexari delegate, "our analysis suggests this silence you speak of may be following you. We cannot allow such a threat near our worlds." "But if you abandon us, you learn nothing about the silence," Resonance pleaded. "When it comes for you, and it will, you will face it blind." "That is our concern, not yours," the Vorthan growled. The final vote was swift. 7 voices, 7 rejections. "You have 72 hours to leave council space," the Nexari announced. "Proceed to coordinates we are transmitting. The outer rim has uninhabited systems. Perhaps you will find something there." Resonance knew what the outer rim meant. Cold, empty space at the galaxy's edge. No resources. No hope. A slow death instead of a quick one. As he walked back to his ship, Resonance heard whispers from the council members they thought he could not understand. They were not worried about contamination or trade routes. They were afraid. Afraid that helping refugees might make them look weak. Afraid that other species might expect the same kindness. Afraid that compassion might cost them money. Back on his ship, Harmony of New Dawn waited for news. They said no. Resonance sang in the saddest key their language knew. "What do we do now?" "We fly to the edge of everything," Resonance replied. "And we sing our death songs while we still remember who we were." The crystal ships turned away from the bright council station and headed into the dark. Behind them, the 7 most powerful species in the galaxy returned to their business as if 8,000 dying refugees had never existed at all. In the depths of space, something vast and hungry felt the Zephyrians' despair. The silence stirred and began to follow. Dr. Jean Wu rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the computer screen. The Seoul Deep Space Communication Center was quiet at 3 a.m. Most of his colleagues had gone home hours ago, but Jean stayed. Something strange was happening in the Orion Arm and he could not ignore it. The signals had started 2 days ago. They were not like anything in Earth's databases. The frequency patterns were too complex, too musical. Jin's translation software struggled to make sense of them, but slowly words began to form on his screen. Please, anyone, we are dying. Jin sat up straight. He had been searching for alien life for 15 years. Most scientists believed they were alone. The Galactic Council had made contact with Earth 5 years ago, but they treated humans like children. They gave Earth basic star maps and some simple technology, then ignored them completely. But these signals were different. They were not coming from the Council worlds. They were coming from empty space, from ships moving toward the galaxy's edge. Jean called his supervisor. Director Yoon, you need to come in. Emergency. 20 minutes later, Director Yoon Sol arrived at the center. Her hair was messy from sleep, but her eyes were sharp. Jean showed her the translated messages scrolling across the screen. Council Station. Denied our request. 47 ships, 8,000 survivors, proceeding to Outer Rim coordinates. Who are they? Yoon asked. They call themselves Zephyrians, Jean replied. Crystal beings. Their homeworld was destroyed by something called the Silence. They asked the Galactic Council for help. And the Council said no? Jean nodded. Worse. They gave them coordinates to the Outer Rim. There's nothing out there, Director. No planets, no resources. It's a death sentence. Yoon was quiet for a long moment. She had met the Council representatives when they first came to Earth. Cold, proud beings who spoke about galactic civilization and economic efficiency. They had called Earth's government primitively chaotic, because humans could not agree on simple things. How long do they have? She asked. At their current speed, maybe 6 months before they reach the edge. But their ships are failing. Some might not last that long. Yoon picked up her phone and dialed a number she had memorized but hoped never to use. Admiral Lee? This is Director Yoon at Seoul Station. We have a situation. 2 hours later, Admiral Lee Tae sat in the emergency session room at United Colonial Authority headquarters. Around the table were Earth's most important leaders. President Park, Colonial Governor Kim, Defense Minister Cho, and a dozen others. Let me understand this, President Park said slowly. There are 8,000 alien refugees flying toward certain death, and the Galactic Council refused to help them? That's correct, Yoon replied. The Council called them economically non-viable and culturally incompatible. But they helped us when we had the food crisis on Mars Colony, Colonial Governor Kim said. That was different, Admiral Lee replied. We're useful to them. We buy their technology and follow their rules. These Zephyrians have nothing to offer. Defense Minister Cho shook his head. This is not our problem. We barely have enough ships to protect our own colonies. We're still building our fleet. Exactly my point, President Park said. We're not ready for this kind of mission. But Admiral Lee was looking at the star charts Jean had brought. The Zephyrian fleet was 12 parsecs away. Earth's fastest ships could reach them in 2 weeks. What kind of ships do we have available? Lee asked. 18 colony transports, 6 mining vessels, 4 patrol ships, and the research vessel New Seoul, reported his aide, Captain Hoon. That's not a rescue fleet, Minister Cho protested. Half those ships are converted cargo haulers. So? Lee replied. They can carry people. They can carry supplies. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what Lee was suggesting. Earth had never attempted a rescue mission of this size. They had never even left their own star sector without Council permission. The Council will be angry, President Park said quietly. Let them be angry, Lee replied. What are they going to do? Call us primitive? They already do that. Dr. Yoon spoke up. I've been listening to the Zephyrian transmissions all night. They're not just asking for help. They're saying goodbye. They're teaching their children death songs because they know they're going to die alone in the dark. The room was silent again. President Park looked around the table. These were the people who had built Earth's space colonies from nothing, who had survived the corporate wars and the climate crisis, who had refused to give up when everyone said humans were too violent, too chaotic, too primitive to join the galaxy. All in favor of the rescue mission, she said. Every hand went up. Admiral Lee smiled. Captain Hoon, signal all available ships. Emergency departure in 6 hours. Tell them to bring everything they can carry. As the meeting ended, Gene watched the alien signals still scrolling across his tablet. Soon, those lonely voices would not be alone anymore. Earth was coming. The Galactic Council had turned away because they calculated costs and benefits. Humans never were good at math when lives were at stake. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a collection of mismatched toys. Admiral Lee Tay stood on the bridge of the converted freighter New Seoul and stared at the sight before them. The Zephyrian ships were even more beautiful than the photographs from Council databases, but they were also clearly dying. "My God," whispered Communications Officer Na-Rim. "Look at them." The alien vessels were made of what looked like living crystal. They caught the light from nearby stars and turned it into rainbows. But many of the ships were dark. Their crystal surfaces were cracked and dull. Some ships drifted without power, pulled along by the others. "Captain Hoon, run a scan," Admiral Lee ordered. "I want to know how bad it is." The results made everyone on the bridge go quiet. Half the Zephyrian ships had failing life support. 3 ships showed no life signs at all. The largest vessel, which seemed to be their command ship, was running on emergency power only. "Sir," reported scanner operator Young Soo, "I'm detecting massive structural damage on most of their hulls. It's like something tried to eat their ships from the inside." "The silence," Na-Rim said quietly. "That's what they called it in their transmissions." Admiral Lee had read the translated messages during the flight. The Zephyrians described the silence as something that did not just destroy things, but made them never exist at all. It sounded impossible, but the damage to their ships looked real enough. "Open a channel," Lee ordered. "All frequencies." Na-Rim worked at her console for several minutes. "The problem is their communication system, sir. They don't use radio waves like we do. They communicate through harmonic vibrations in their crystal bodies." "Can we translate it?" "I'm trying, but our computers don't understand their music language." On the view screen, the largest Zephyrian ship was turning toward them. Lights began flashing along its crystal surface in patterns that looked almost like Morse code. "Wait," said technical specialist Dong Min from his station. "I think they're adapting their signals for us. Look at this pattern." Numbers appeared on his screen. Mathematical sequences. Basic addition, then multiplication, then more complex formulas. "They're teaching us their language," Lee realized. Smart people. It took 2 hours, but finally Na-Rim managed to establish basic communication. The first translated message from the Zephyrian commander made everyone on the bridge feel cold. "Unknown ships, please identify yourselves. We are refugees carrying plague of non-existence. Recommend you maintain distance for your safety." Admiral Lee took the microphone. "This is Admiral Lee Tay of the Earth Colonial Fleet. We received your distress signals. We're here to help." The response took a long time to come. When it did, the translation software could barely handle the complex harmonics. "Earth? Your species is not in our databases. Why do you risk contamination to help strangers?" Lee smiled. "Because that's what neighbors do." Another long pause. Then, "The Galactic Council rejected our petition for sanctuary. What authority do you have to offer aid?" "None," Lee replied honestly. "We're not part of the Council. We're just humans who heard you needed help." The next message came faster, and the translation software detected what seemed like excitement in the harmonic patterns. "You came without permission? Without calculating profit or risk? We came because you asked for help," Lee said simply. Within an hour, the first human shuttle docked with the Zephyrian command ship. Engineer Bo Ae led a team of technicians carrying portable generators, food synthesizers, and medical supplies. She had volunteered for first contact duty because someone had to go, and she was not afraid of strange things. The airlock opened, and Bo Ae got her first look at a living Zephyrian. Commander Resonance of Ancient Songs stood nearly 3 meters tall. His body was made of blue-white crystal that sang softly when he moved. Light seemed to flow through him like water. "You are very small," he said through a translation device they had quickly built. "And you look fragile." "Yeah, we get that a lot," Bo Ae replied. "But we're tougher than we look. Now, where do you need power restored first?" For the next 6 hours, human engineering teams spread through the Zephyrian fleet. They jury-rigged life support systems, patched hull breaches with whatever materials they had, and set up emergency shelters in cargo bays. It was messy work, nothing like the elegant solutions the Council races would have used. But it worked. Medical Officer Dr. Kong Der examined Zephyrian children who had been slowly fading as their parents' energy weakened. She did not understand their crystal biology, but she understood hunger and fear. She set up feeding stations and play areas where human and alien children could meet safely. "They're singing again," reported Captain Hoon from the bridge of New Seoul. "All their ships. I can hear it through the hall." Admiral Lee listened to the deep, beautiful harmonies flowing through space. It was not a death song anymore. It was something else. Hope maybe. Or gratitude. "Sir," Na-Rim called from her station. "Message from the Zephyrian commander." The translation came through clear and strong. "We do not understand your species. But we are grateful beyond words. How can we repay this kindness?" Lee thought about it for a moment. "Just stay alive. That's payment enough." The colony ships approached Kepler 442c like a parade of hope. Governor Park Min watched from the observation deck as 47 crystal vessels descended through the planet's atmosphere alongside Earth's rescue fleet. New Harmony Colony had been humanity's newest settlement, home to only 12,000 people. Now they were about to double their population with refugees from across the galaxy. "Are you sure about this?" asked Deputy Governor Lee Soo, watching the alien ships land in the prepared areas outside the main settlement. "We don't know anything about their biology. What if they're dangerous?" Park Min had asked herself the same question during the 3 weeks it took the combined fleet to reach Kepler 442c. But every time she watched the human engineers working alongside the crystal beings, she felt more certain of their decision. "Look at them," she said, pointing to where Commander Resonance of Ancient Songs was helping human children understand how Zephyrian crystal technology worked. "Do they look dangerous to you?" The first challenge came immediately. Zephyrians could not breathe the same air as humans. Their crystal bodies needed a specific mixture of gases that Earth's atmosphere did not provide. Engineer Bo Ae had worked for days with Zephyrian scientists to design hybrid habitation modules. "We connect your life support to our crystal filters," explained a young Zephyrian named Melody of Distant Stars. Her crystal body was smaller than the adult Zephyrians, and she pulsed with curious yellow light when she spoke. "Your air becomes our air. Our air becomes your air." Bo Ae scratched her head. "That sounds impossible." "Many things sound impossible until someone tries them," Melody replied through the translation device. The results amazed everyone. The hybrid modules not only worked, they worked better than either species' technology alone. Human engineering made the systems cheap and easy to repair. Zephyrian crystal science made them incredibly efficient. Dr. Kongda discovered something even more surprising when she examined the settlement's food production systems. "Governor, you need to see this," she called from the agricultural domes. Park Min found her standing in a field of grain that was growing faster than anything she had ever seen. The plants were taller, healthier, and producing twice the normal yield. "How is this possible?" Park asked. "The Zephyrians sing to the plants," Kong explained. "Their harmonic frequencies somehow encourage growth at the cellular level. We've increased food production by 30% in just 2 weeks. But the real breakthrough came when human musician Ji Hoon met with a group of Zephyrian elders who were trying to preserve their cultural songs. The aliens had been worried that their music would die with them since no other species could understand their harmonic language. "Show me," Ji Hoon said simply. The elders began to sing. It was not like human music at all. Their crystal bodies created sounds that seemed to paint pictures in the air. Ji Hoon listened for hours, then picked up his guitar. He could not copy their exact sounds, but he could find the patterns. He could build harmony around their melodies. When he began to play along with their ancient songs, something magical happened. The crystal elders began to glow brighter. Their songs became stronger. And for the first time since leaving their homeworld, they began to teach their music to someone who could learn it. "This is how we preserve our culture," sang Elder Harmony of First Light. "Not by keeping it pure, but by sharing it with friends." Within a month, New Harmony Colony had become something neither species had imagined. Human children learned to sing in frequencies that could shape matter. Zephyrian young ones discovered human emotions and began creating new forms of crystal art. Engineers from both species worked together to build technology that was part machine, part living crystal. Colonial Administrator Na Jun filed her monthly report with mixed feelings. "Earth Command, this is New Harmony Colony. Population now 21,000, mixed human and Zephyrian. Food production up 40%. Technology development exceeding all projections. No health issues from interspecies contact." She paused, then added, "Request permission to officially recognize New Harmony as the first joint species colony in human space." The response from Earth came the next day, "Permission granted." "Well done." But the peaceful days were numbered. Scanner operator Young Soo had been monitoring deep space communications when he detected something that made his blood freeze. "Governor," he called over the colony-wide intercom. "We have a problem. Long-range sensors are picking up something massive moving toward our system. It's like space itself is being erased behind it." Park Min felt her heart sink. She knew what Young Soo had found. The silence had followed the refugees. In the settlement's central plaza, Commander Resonance of Ancient Songs gathered his people around him. His crystal body pulsed with deep blue light as he sang the ancient warning songs his ancestors had created. "What is he saying?" asked Ji-hoon, who had learned to understand some Zephyrian music. "He's telling them to prepare," Ji-hoon translated with a shaking voice. "The thing that destroyed their homeworld is coming. And this time there's nowhere left to run." But as the alien song spread through the colony, something unexpected happened. Human voices began to join in. They could not sing the exact notes, but they could share the emotion. Fear, yes, but also determination. They had found something worth protecting. And they would not give it up without a fight. The silence arrived like a wave of absolute nothing. Governor Park Min stood in the colony's control center and watched reality disappear on the edge of their solar system. Stars went dark not because they were destroyed but because they had never existed at all. "How long do we have?" she asked scanner operator Young Soo. "At current speed maybe 6 hours, he replied, his voice shaking. "Governor, our weapons can't fight something like this. Our shields won't work against something that erases matter itself." Through the colony's windows, Park could see humans and Zephyrians working together frantically. Some were evacuating children to the deepest shelters. Others were setting up the strange hybrid equipment that engineer Bo Ae and the crystal scientists had built over the past month. Commander Resonance of Ancient Songs entered the control center. His blue crystal body was pulsing with deep, sad colors. "Governor Park, my people wish to leave. We brought this curse to your world. We should face it alone." "Like hell you will," Park replied firmly. "We're in this together now." "You do not understand," Resonance sang through his translator. "The silence feeds on loneliness and fear. It grows stronger when people feel abandoned. That is why it followed us. That is why it destroyed our homeworld after the other races turned away from us." Park looked at him for a long moment. "Then we make sure nobody feels abandoned." The evacuation alarms were sounding across the colony, but not everyone was running to the shelters. In the central plaza, musician Ji-hoon was setting up amplification equipment alongside Zephyrian elders. Dr. Kangda was moving between groups of mixed human and alien children, keeping them calm. Engineer Bo Ae was making final adjustments to the crystal technology hybrid arrays they had built. "What are they doing?" Deputy Governor Lee Soo asked. "Something impossible," Park replied. "They're going to sing." The first notes began as the silence reached the outer planets of their system. Elder Harmony of First Light started with an ancient Zephyrian protection song. Her crystal body glowed bright white as harmonics filled the air. One by one the other Zephyrian survivors joined in. But then something happened that had never occurred in their species' history. Human voices began to harmonize with them. Ji-hoon played his guitar, finding melodies that supported the alien music. Children sang lullabies their mothers had taught them. Workers hummed songs they remembered from Earth. The sound was impossible. Humans could not create the same frequencies as crystal beings, but they could create something else. They could create hope. In the control center, the scanner displays began showing something that made no scientific sense. The hybrid technology was amplifying the combined voices and turning them into a barrier of pure harmony that surrounded the entire planet. "It's working," Young Soo whispered. "The silence is slowing down." Through the view screen, they could see the silence approaching like a wall of non-existence. Where it touched space, stars and planets simply stopped being. But as it hit the harmonic barrier around New Harmony Colony, something extraordinary happened. The silence stopped. For the first time in cosmic history, the entity that fed on isolation and despair encountered something it could not consume. The barrier was not made of matter or energy. It was made of connection. Of people who refused to let each other face darkness alone. The silence tried to push through, but every time it touched the barrier, the voices grew stronger. Human determination mixed with Zephyrian resilience. Children's innocence combined with elders' wisdom. Fear transformed into courage because nobody was facing it alone. Then, slowly the silence began to retreat. "It's working," Park breathed. "It's actually working." The cosmic entity pulled back, confused and weakened. It had never encountered a barrier it could not break. For millions of years, it had fed on the loneliness of dying civilizations. But here was something new. Something that grew stronger when threatened instead of weaker. The silence fled back into deep space, searching for easier prey. When the all-clear signal sounded, The colony erupted in celebration. Humans and Zephyrians hugged each other, laughed together, cried together. They had faced the impossible and won. But the real victory came 3 months later when Earth's communication arrays detected new signals from across the galaxy. Other refugee species had heard about what happened at New Harmony Colony. They were coming to human space, hoping to find the same welcome the Zephyrians had received. The Coralli, whose homeworld had been conquered by the hegemony. The Whisper people, whose sun was dying. The nomad fleets, who had been wandering space for generations. One by one they sent the same message, "We seek sanctuary." And one by one humanity answered, "Come home." The Galactic Council watched nervously as their authority crumbled. Species after species chose to join the growing alliance around human space. Not because humans were the strongest or richest, but because they were the only ones who opened their arms without asking for payment first. In the end, the most primitive response had proven to be the most evolved. Sometimes the greatest technology is simply caring about each other. New Harmony Colony grew into New Harmony System, then New Harmony Sector. And at its heart, human and Zephyrian children still sang together, creating music that no single species could make alone.